Before this video gets started, I want to tell you that there's a question I'll be asking at the end of the video, so please stay tuned and so I can get your feedback. Now, recording this episode has been, without exaggeration, the most frustrating process I've had to go through in a while. After spending hours recording footage of mining, base building, and getting everything set up just the way I needed it, all that hard work was, well, completely wasted. Most of the footage got corrupted, and it was completely unusable. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. I've had technical issues before, but this was on a whole new level of annoying. On top of that, right when I was gearing up to get everything back on track, I got sick. It was right at the start of the new year. That just made it even worse. The timing was just horrible. I needed to let my voice recover, which meant further delays, and while it's not back to normal now, it's manageable. So let's dive into what's actually been going on in the world. The episode starts with a base that's already been built. I know it's not as flashy as a fresh start, but I had to pick up where I left off, especially after all the setbacks. One thing I realized early on was that I needed a consistent food source. I had died quite a bit trying to start on the first tower. Honestly, it was kind of embarrassing. Every time I thought I had made progress, I'd either run out of resources, fall into lava, or just die to fall damage. This even caused me to lose a good chunk of the materials I had gathered. So I decided to take a step back and pause the tower for now. Instead, I focused on building a basic little hut, a little structure that would serve as the top of one of the many towers I plan to construct down the line. With the hut done, I turned my attention to making sure I had enough food to sustain me for the next phase of the build. I knew the farms were going to take some time, but having a reliable food source was priority. I didn't want to keep running into situations where I was starving and couldn't get anything done, needing to go and kill more animals for food. So I set up a simple farm for the basics, but the real challenge came when I started thinking about how I was going to deal with the mountainous terrain. The terrain here is gorgeous, but navigating it is an absolute nightmare. The steep drops, the sharp turns, the uneven ground, it makes everything so much harder. So I decided to do something a little different and created a tunnel from the base to the future farm area, a nice little underground passage that would save me time and frustration. Digging through the mountain itself was relatively easy. Thankfully, I didn't encounter too many cave systems or complicated missing patches. But it wasn't going to be a smooth process. Terraforming was going to be a whole other beast to deal with. And that brings us to the next part, the farm setup itself. I knew that just planting crops wouldn't be enough. I needed to make the farm both functional and aesthetically pleasing. First, I planted bamboo along the sides to create a natural wall. It's a simple yet effective way to create some space between the base and the future farm while still looking organic, also stops mobs from going through. Bamboo grows fast, so it'll act as a natural barrier, which is great since I plan to build a lot on this mountain. The weed farm was a good start, but I definitely need to expand it eventually. Food is never something you want to skimp out on, and the way I tend to get distracted while building, I'll need plenty of food. Without the bamboo that I planted, it would be easy for things to fall off the edge or for mobs to get too close. I'm new to using scaffolding, and I'm really excited to see how much it'll help with the process. Next, I turned my attention to the terraforming. The idea here was pretty simple. I wanted to make the mountain feel as though it had been naturally shaped over time. Still wanted it to look natural to the game, but I needed it to be functional. I didn't want it to look like I just hacked away at the landscape and called it a day. So I set up some fences along the cliff sides where I wasn't going to build anything. Then I focused on the pathway leading from the cave. Creating a natural path was essential, not just for aesthetics, but for functionality as well. It needed to make sense. The path had to flow with the shape of the land, as if it had been worn down over time by travelers and weather. I didn't want a straight, rigid path with sharp angles. That would have completely broken the natural vibe I was going for. So I widened the path and gave it some more curves, adding in little steps and ledges to make it more natural. A winding route. It might have taken a little longer to put together, but in the end it was worth it. The goal was to make it look like time had carved out this path. Now I've already talked about struggling to get this video done, but going through and playing this even further, especially around the new year, it gave me some time to reflect. Things don't go as planned, as told about before, and sometimes you have to make do with what you got. And it's really something that resonated with me over the past few months. My partner and I have been trying to start fresh in 2025, leave behind the drama, the unwanted people, and move forward with positive changes that would better us. But as life would have it, things don't always work out like that. Friends moved away, dealing with the manipulative people. It's all just been exhausting. Honestly, it's been really emotionally draining. I think we all have that tendency to see change as a negative when it comes with hardship or challenges, and I'm really no different to that. For a long time, I've had a hard time accepting that change can be good. If something bad happens or if things go wrong, it can feel like everything is falling apart. But recently I've been trying to shift my perspective. I'm learning to accept that change is a part of life. And though I can't control how things unfold, I can control how I respond. I don't always have the power to fix things, but I can choose to make things better, even in small ways, whether that's through focusing on these projects, like this world in Minecraft, or by choosing a more positive outlook in my daily life. It all eventually adds up. I can't force the changes to happen, but I can make the best out of the situation I'm currently in. Going forward, I'm really hoping that 2025 will be a year I can kind of get a break, in a sense. I still want things to progress and move forward, but I just need it to be a little bit easier on me. I'm ready to take things one step at a time, and I'm optimistic that I'll get to where I need to be, even if it's not on my ideal timeline. I'm really hoping that 2025 will be a year that's a bit easier on me. I'm still ready to take things and move them forward. I just need it to be a little less negatively spun and downward. I need it to go up for a little bit, you know? Now, before I wrap this up, I want to ask a few questions for you guys. I'm thinking of starting up a new series on the channel about forever games, kind of expanding the forever world concept, but games that have endless replayability that people come back to all the time. I love the idea of diving into a game that you could just play for years without necessarily getting bored. Exploring their plot lines, their genres, and what makes them truly stand out is what I'd want to do. For example, take Minecraft, since we're playing it. It's an open sandbox game where you can build endless projects, explore different mods, create new experiences every time you play, but it's not the only game that's like this, you know? I'm curious to know what games do you think would fit into this forever game category. Do you have any of your own? And I want you to recommend them down below, and maybe I'll cover them in a video coming up. They could be MMOs, roguelikes, or anything else just with infinite replayability potential. I'm really excited to hear what you guys all think and what games you'd like to see me cover. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.